Hey Ryan.
Hey Drew.
Hey man, how's it going? Hey Gina.
Hi there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're just still getting set, honey. I need to
No
go that way.
worries. I like what you've done with your hair, Gina.
Thanks.
How are you guys doing?
Doing okay. We're a little, sequestered and locked down and whatever at the moment,
Yeah.
but I think we're doing okay in general.
Yeah.
Uh, but we're just trying to connect with people just like this
Yeah.
for now.
What is the quarantine
And
situation looking like in Sicily? I know everyone's talking about Italy and how they're all quarantined, but is it the same in Sicily?
yeah, it's the same all the way across, Italy. We're the exact same. Sorry, hang on just a second here, Drew.
No worries.
Come this way.
So have you guys transitioned to homeschooling for right now?
We
Yeah,
have,
for now.
yeah, the kids. In fact, there's Ellie somewhere. There
Hey
she is.
Ellie, how's it going?
They're more. The older girls are doing more virtual school. They meet with their teachers. Hannah meets 3 and 4 and 5 teachers a day,
Okay.
and Ellie has not quite as many, but she probably has 3 or 4 shorter meetings every day with teachers, and they're keeping them going between those meetings and then their homework. And then the little kids, they're just assigning homework,
Yeah.
and if they understand it, fine. But up until now, it's been sort of a lot of review. They already knew, but now we're getting into some of the math and such that's new that they'll need some explanation.
Okay, cool. So the atmosphere over in Sicily right now, is it is it kind of hopeful, or is there just kind of a lot of confusion, or what does the atmosphere over there look like right now?
I think there's a lot of unity in if we all stay home, then this will pass. If we all do our part to help with the science of the immunology, then it will all work out.
Yeah.
But the like the government, they're really rallying that,
Yeah.
but they're also calling out people if they're not staying at home.
Yeah, they're submitting fines. Like if you're supposed to fill out a document that says, "Hey, I'm out of my house for this reason," and then if the police stop you, you have to present the document.
Mhm.
And
the reason
Wow.
can be work that the government has deemed necessary. They call it sort of like the first level work where it's continuing to
Essential.
operate. Yeah, essential.
Yeah.
And then
like doctors or
Yeah.
people that are delivering important things or
yeah.
whatever.
So here in our little courtyard where we park,
Yeah.
the only car that's ever gone in this time has been the one lady who's a doctor. Everybody's
Wow.
cars have been here otherwise.
So what does y'all's daily commute look like? Are y'all staying at home, or are y'all able to?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just here. I mean, I've gone out 2 or 3 times to get groceries or whatever over
Yeah.
the last week and a half or so. But aside from that, commute is essentially to the kitchen table and to the desk.
Yeah.
We're thankful we have a yard and we can go outside, and a lot
As
of
you know.
people, yeah, as you know, but a lot of people don't have a yard to be able to have outside time and
Yeah.
get out to run around and
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the families, just have the kids cooped up all the time in the house.
That's got to be something else. Yeah.
It's got to be rough.
What is
So-
it? What does it look like for the refugees over there? What are they doing?
Same kind of thing. They're in the house.
Yeah.
They're not, a lot of those guys being, some of them still are in camps and so on. And so, most of those anymore, they have food brought in.
Yeah.
And they're literally there, nothing to do.
Are you
I
able
was
to keep in
talking
touch with
to a
them?
guy. I don't know that you would have met this guy. Maybe his name's Ansu. I was talking to him earlier today, and he was telling me that he's just, he's just at home. He's got a job, but all of the restaurants and everything's closed down now. So
Yeah.
it's a real mess for him right now. and
Yeah.
He lives
so
alone,
it's
right?
just he has roommates, but he doesn't really know them. So really, he just kind of stays in his room unless he needs to go and cook something, and then so they barely see each other maybe for a minute or two. So
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, just
So
alone.
I feel like over here in the United States, a lot of people are pretty fearful of kind of the impact that it's going to have on the economy over here.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of wondering what you guys are envisioning over there. Do you feel like things are going to stabilize, or do you see a lot of people getting left behind after this?
Yeah, good
Well, I
question.
think there are a lot of people left behind right
Already,
now
yeah.
because this all the small businesses and mom and pop places that they had no warning.
Yeah.
There was a press conference one night at 9 p.m. and they were not
that was
opening the next day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that there is a lot of fear and worry happening
Economically,
right now economically, but this is a socialist government,
Yeah.
and there will be government blanket help coming.
Yeah.
They've already delayed a tax deadline that was due. They've pushed that back to the
They
next
announced
quarter.
something last night, actually.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So there will be kind of the bailout kind of thing happening, which is hard on Italy's economy because it's pretty unbalanced already.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. Well, so in the midst of all of this hecticness, I still wanted to reach out to you guys because you guys have taken on a really important mission in your lives, and I wanted you guys to be able to share what you can about that and to kind of share y'all's testimony and what you guys are doing out in Sicily, because you guys are a blue collar family from Colorado, if I remember correctly, and you guys decided to make a move out there. So I wanted to give y'all a chance to share your testimony and what you guys are doing out there. So
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so we had we've got two biological kids. So one is the oldest, and one's the youngest. And but before and after our first, we'd had some pretty problematic pregnancies, and that left us kind of in a situation where we weren't able to have any more children. So we had gone through the process of fostering for a while. We'd gone through the process of adopting, and being at that time we were Midwesterners. Had grown up in Indiana and been in St. Louis, and we went through an adoption process. First going to China, second to Ethiopia, and really that was sort of our introduction, if you will, to the nations. And almost immediately after that second adoption, one, we had our youngest, and two, we had a class, a perspectives class, that sort of helped fulfill, if you will, to see what God's plan was for the nations. So here we had just been introduced to the nations. Now it's directly within our family, and then subsequently we're introduced to God's plan for the nations. And so for some time we thought that we were going to move to a different country. We'd kind of thought about that and wondered if God was calling us, but ultimately, we left that behind, and over a period of years, we waited, and finally, there was a guy who came and introduced us to this possibility, this opportunity here in Catania, helping us see the nations coming to Italy. And, all these different unreached people groups that we had thought about, prayed about, wondered what God was going to do in those nations. Here they come out of their nations where actually it's quite difficult to share the gospel and connect with people in these places. Now they're coming here in Italy, and you can share the gospel pretty openly with folks and make disciples and teach them to make disciples. And so when we saw that, we started to spend some time here. I came here 3 times in 2015, and then we said, yeah, we feel like God is calling us to the nations, even though those nations are actually coming out in the same way that we are here to Italy. So we kind of come and meet together with them here, all of us as immigrants here in Italy. So that's been just an incredible roller coaster ride because we came out of corporate world, homeschooling for some time, pretty like normal everyday American kind of lives, American dream, the whole bit. But when God called, thankfully we were finally prepared and in a place to be ready to answer.
That's awesome. So moving out to Sicily, you guys have been out there for 5 years now?
Coming up on 4, actually.
Coming up on 4. Okay, cool. So, being the blue collar family, moving out to Sicily, you had to learn a new language, you had to learn a new culture. What was that adjustment like for you guys and your whole family?
We expected a long learning curve on that in learning the language and learning the culture. And it was really tough. We wanted our kids to sort of learn and experience how to be, kind of between two cultures and trying to understand how they can kind of step between the two. And so we put them in Italian school, and this is their 4th year in Italian school, and they're all fluent. They all read and write and speak and understand really great. But ramping up was pretty hard. There were a lot of days that they went, and I wasn't sure why they went because I knew that they were going to go do something very, very hard and spend a lot of the day not understanding and not being able to follow. But they were troopers, and they went, and eventually they knew that they could understand and they could express themselves, and we're really proud of them for what they've done. We say that what they've done has been the most brave and hardest battle so far.
Pretty heroic.
Yeah. But I will say that after we had been here almost 2 years, we were feeling like we had some roots underneath us and understanding the processes of how things worked, how school worked, and what the cycles were like. What we understood how to go to the doctor or how to go to the emergency room if we needed to. We had enough language, though that even then that was pretty basic, to be able to express ourselves and to generally understand. But the more we have understood how the culture works and how we can live in the culture, and the more we've understood the language and know that we can express ourselves and have our needs met, the happier we've all been in that time.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I'll just say from a work perspective here and kind of the ministry piece of it that we've done, it's been interesting. You bounce from, going out, meeting with people, and in one conversation, you might speak to somebody in English, and another conversation you're speaking to somebody in Italian, and you're bouncing back and forth from one to the next, because it's not all just for us anyway, one or the other. We meet people that we connect better with in English, and those that we connect better with in Italian, and they're Africans, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting cultural kind of mix, moving from one to the next. And you might have people from many other different backgrounds as well, but it's interesting float and mix, if you will, between the different languages, between the different components. So it's made for some tired nights sometimes, but after you've kind of worked all day, moving from one culture and one language to the next, it makes it interesting for sure.
What have, on top of learning the language and the culture, what has been some of the biggest challenges so far, just being out there and adjusting?
Switching from the corporate life where
Mhm.
he went to work and came home from work and left that behind, and we had family time, and going into sort of ministry life where there's needs to be met, and they come at all times and all hours and all days of the week.
Yeah.
That has been a big shift and challenge for us. And then sort of the extra layers that come on, practically speaking, in being a missionary, visas, raising funds,
Mhm.
living overseas, and then also the difficulties that come with the opposition that we have in being here, and the we're sharing the good news, and Satan doesn't want that. And so there are things that happen that shouldn't happen, that we say, oh, shame on you, Satan. And also, difficulties relationally that we've had, and just being in unison and a one mind over things sometimes,
Yeah.
that we didn't really experience before.
We just didn't know to expect it. I mean, I would say in many ways that's probably been one of our biggest challenges, is just like learning in the midst of all of the different frustrations that you have, and in working within a different culture or whatever, just turning around and connecting and communicating with one another to be on the same page.
Yeah.
It's difficult enough to try to figure out how to raise a family. It's been another level for us anyway, to
Yeah.
try to do that in another culture, and figure out how to continue to communicate well with one another without let's say more robust discussions.
Yeah. Cool. So, when myself and the people from Southeast, we came out there and interned with you guys. It was just you guys kind of for the first beginning of it, and I know now that some other missionary couples have come out there to join you guys. Um, is everything kind of on a rate of expansion, and are y'all are well? Let me phrase it this way: uh, community wise, are you guys establishing more of a community out there, and has that been a huge difference maker?
It has been significant, I would say. We've had a group here of 8 different families that have been focused on moving in the same direction, so we've been able to do things like holidays, and like, just to make an example, Italy doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving, but we look forward to Thanksgiving every year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't look forward to Thanksgiving? Now, we don't always get the football, and the kids have to
Right.
go to school that day, whatever.
Right.
But everybody gets together and is able to spend time together and celebrating Thanksgiving together, and just enjoying the time.
Yeah.
That's changed some from the perspective of, it's not just Americans that we're with now. We're now that we're gaining language and so on, we're able to connect with Italians as well.
But from being here initially and just being our family, and bringing on those other teammates, the community has been tremendous. The
Mhm.
support and the friendship and the community for our kids has been tremendous. And it's a huge, I mean, it's a huge graciousness from God in having that.
Mhm.
And we definitely are thankful and recognize that goes a long way towards our happiness and our sustainability here.
That's good. That's good. Um, do you guys have 5-year goals, 10-year goals? Do you guys have a plan or anything like that for what you guys are wanting to see in the future?
We came here and said, let's call it permanent, but let's kind of say, what will the first 3 to 5 years be like? And that first 3 years went crazy quick.
Yeah.
And so we
Yeah.
were about this time last year looking at 3 years and knowing that we felt like we had just gotten firmly our feet on the ground, and those roots underneath us.
Yeah.
So we recommitted between the two of us that I don't know that we had a specific amount of years to add on that, but we committed that this is home and this is where our children are thriving. This is where the work that, Ryan can put his hands to is, and we can continue to call this a permanent thing.
Yeah. Cool. And, what's been happening is what we've, as you know, with the refugees that are coming in, we're a gateway city here in Catania.
Yeah.
And so it's a first step into Europe for many of these guys. In fact, some of the people that and we've seen baptized and so on have moved on up into more permanent cities, let's say, in other parts of Europe.
Yeah.
And so, the nature, the mobile nature and the transient nature of the people that we're working with, it caused us really to kind of take a look at what are some things that we can do intelligently to be able to connect with both the people that have come through here as well as those who have already moved on up into other parts of Italy, primarily, potentially in the future other parts of Europe. So now actually we're later this year, assuming everything continues on plan.
Yeah.
Our plan is to continue and actually expand the team up in Rome, and we're even starting to have some discussions with some people up in Milan at this point. So tracking, if you will, with the people's movement as they go on up to the north, from Rome to Milan to some of these different places. And so our goal now really has shifted to not only see a movement of disciples here in Catania, but also begin to see work start and get going up in Rome, and see work start and get going up in Milan, and not just with the Americans that might be coming over from a missional perspective, but working with people who are already doing things. There's people in these places that are already sharing the gospel, from Africa, from the Far East, from the Middle East, so on. But part of our job is to find them, encourage them, help them as we can, and really partner together with them, because in many ways they can be even more effective than we can, because they speak the language, they know the cultures of the people that we're trying to reach. Well, okay, help them in doing that. So, earlier this morning I was speaking with a guy up near Milan who is already doing some incredible work. I'd love to see a discipleship movement get started up there, and he was saying, I think we can start some churches. I think it can be done. Well, that's exciting. That's what we want to see.
That's awesome. So a lot of my audience is not really aware of what's going on with the refugee situation in Catania and in Europe that's kind of coming from West Africa. In y'all's words, how would you best explain the situation that the refugees are going through that's leading them to Catania?
Well, I think the world is pretty unsettled on multiple fronts right now. So we hear a lot in the news about Syria and problems with Turkey and Russia and these kinds of things. What makes less news are some of the things that are a little bit more regional, and those things might be problems just between people groups, tribalism, if you will. They might be they could be economic problems. People will decide to move. There might be religious problems, Christians and Muslims and Hindus and people from different religious backgrounds. There's a whole host of different reasons why people are moving, and so they hear. First, they get driven out. So there's sort of the stick, if you will, but then there's the carrot of, but I can start my life brand new in this place called Europe, and so they literally go through hell as they move up across the Saharan desert. They go into Libya, places that the stories that I've heard from these places, I would never wish on anybody. My worst enemy, I can't even imagine saying, "Hey, go across the Saharan desert, go through Libya, oh, and then go across the sea, you know, in a boat ride." Most of these guys have no idea how to swim, anything like this. You know, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
But so there's many that have been lost, actually, whether it be in the desert or in Libya or coming across the sea.
Yeah.
But many of them make it as well, and so the ones that are able to make it here,
mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that we try to connect with directly and meet head on, if you will.
Yeah.
And so this has been just how do you say, sort of a heart-wrenching work on the one hand because of the stories that you hear.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's a great amount of hope that presenting the gospel to folks and hearing maybe for the very first time that God loves them, that He wants them to come back, and there's a way that He can do that. And so that's been just amazing to be used even in little ways to see that happen. So that's how I would describe it. I don't know if you, Eddie.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what I try to tell people back at home, that there's a lot of situations out there that people are really just truly unaware of, and like I feel like the situation that you guys are dealing with is one of them, because I'll come home and I'll talk about it and it'll go right over people's heads of just they weren't aware that was happening. Another question I wanted to ask you guys was, are you guys having to be somewhat covert or secretive about anything that you guys are doing? Are there certain rules that you have to abide by in y'all's mission out there? And if so, what are those?
We, for the most part, we spend a lot of time, very openly sharing the gospel, meeting together with folks. We don't spend a lot of time, worrying about what it means to, the effects of that. There are certain things, given that the people that we're connecting with are not always coming from Christian backgrounds. So for the safety of our family and for others, we do pay attention to these things a little bit from a security perspective. But no, generally speaking, we will share the gospel with folks, and honestly, I don't know that I've had people say, "No, I'm not interested," but I don't know that I've ever had anybody that I've been connecting with directly ever have any problem with that at all. The biggest concern is wondering if there's something that we don't know about that we're not. We don't spend a whole lot of time being concerned about that.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, that's been. You guys have really detailed this mission and everything, and I think you've brought a lot of knowledge and clarity to my audience. I wanna ask you guys, what would you guys say is y'all's biggest need right now, or what is probably y'all's biggest prayer request that my audience could pray for you guys about?
Well, I think it's probably on everybody's mind and heart right now is the uncertainty of this coronavirus and what the length of time and how far-reaching the scope is going to be. We're seeing it here in Italy and through Europe, but America is being touched very, very definitely as well. And and then the health concerns with that, and also eventually the economic fallout and the instability that will come from that. This morning, our 14-year-old was saying, when we were talking about we don't think that schools will reopen in April,
Yeah.
as they were projected, she said, "Oh no, it's so long from now." And of course, it's the social stuff and the friends and all of that. But I said, you know what? This is the first time I have ever had to say, these are the things I'm thankful for. My health, our health. We have what we need. We have more than what we need. And we're going to focus on that and being thankful for that, because in this time, I just don't know that we can be not being thankful for that, and that we can take it for granted from right now.
Yeah.
From a ministry perspective, I'll just add that, we just had a meeting with some of our leaders here. Things have progressed here with the ministry work, that there's now 5 different leaders. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 from different parts of Africa, Western, Central, and Eastern parts of Africa. 1 from the island of Mauritius, and 1 who's a Sicilian. And these are guys that we're connecting with on a regular basis, that we're discipling and working with. And, they're, as I was saying before, really the ones that we believe are going to take the gospel forward and really be able to connect with their own people, if you will. So West Africans probably are going to be able to connect with West Africans better than an American can. So just to make an example.
Right.
So I would just say, please pray for these folks, these leaders that are here. They are out sharing the gospel. They are discipling other people, and we're just looking forward to seeing how God's going to use them and the disciples that they make to go on to make many more disciples. So generation of generations, to be able to see disciples, churches planted, and really just a movement of God here. So I just ask you to pray for these leaders that are themselves taking on the call to be sharing with others and leading others to Christ. And so that's been that would be the biggest prayer request that I would throw out.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing about y'all's mission and for, sharing about what's going on in Sicily. I really do appreciate it. For my audience members who, are really inspired by you guys and everything, if they want to support you guys and reach out or, just help in any way, how can they support you guys or reach out to you guys?
So there's a couple things that I'll say here. One would be for us personally, we're with an organization called Millennium Relief and Development Services. So it's mrds.org. If anybody's interested in the possibility of supporting us, we wouldn't turn you away. So mrds.org/giving is the website there, and you just put in just say Ryan and Gina Hale in the account.
Yeah.
Then we've actually formed a small organization called Search Party, and so if you look at searchparty.org. And if you have interest in supporting some of I mentioned some of the leaders, we do support some of them as well, and to help, support some of their needs. And so on the donation page there, it says local partners, and you can support those folks as well. And so we send those funds directly to them. So either one of those, certainly we would be very appreciative for anybody to consider that.
Awesome. Ryan, Gina, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast, being on the show. I really appreciate it. I really hope to get back out there soon, to be honest. I
hope you're able to be here.
For sure.
Fantastic.
We'll make it happen. But guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys later, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and my prayers are with you guys. And thank you again for being on the show.
Great. Thanks so much, Drew.
Have a good one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.